All right, time to export your first sheet into a PDF. So before we get that far, I'm going to create two more sheets and we're going to place each one of these views on its own sheet because in real life, that's probably how it would be. And I need to show you how to order the sheets. So let's go, if you remember, this is good practice on how to create new sheets. If you go over to the Sheets section on the browser and you right click it, you're going to click New Sheet. You're going to pick the right title block and you're going to do that 2 times. We're going to create another sheet. Actually, we'll just do it once. I'll show you another method. Now, if you highlight the new sheet, if you right click, you can duplicate the sheet. And I'm just going to duplicate the empty sheet, and now that'll make our third one. So now we just need to move the views off of this sheet onto the new sheets. So that's where it comes in handy. If you click this little star or the plus button, now you can see the views that are on the first sheet. So let's go to our second sheet, A101. So that'll bring us to A101. And we need to put a view on this sheet. So on the first sheet, let's leave the basement plan there. Let's move the floor plan onto the second sheet. So all you have to do is click and drag off of the first sheet and it'll bring it onto the second sheet. And let's just center it in the middle of the page like that and call it good. Now let's go to our third sheet, which is blank. And now let's pull the roof plan off of the first sheet and drag it onto the third sheet. And center it. Now what we need to do is let's make sure our sheets are named correctly. Okay, so it will remember a lot of things from your first title block. It remembers the project number, the date, the drawn by. Oh, it doesn't remember the drawn by. So BJW. Sorry, caps. Sorry, I can't even type my own initials right. The checker, BJW. And then Revit already tried to number it for you. So it remembered that your last sheet you made was 100, so it made it 101 and 102. So that's probably okay for now. What else isn't? Oh, the name of the sheet. So what's on this sheet? We've got the roof plan. So let's name it roof plan. Now let's go to our other new sheet. We can name it main floor plan. And we'll fill out the author, BJW. Okay, so that's all filled out now. Now we want to center this to match the other ones roughly. And now this is no longer the main floor plan sheet. This is really the basement floor plan. We'll click OK. And there you go. Now we've got 3 sheets and I'm just going to hit the minus button so we can see all 3 of them right here. Okay, so we have 3 different sheets. They're set up nicely and professionally. Now we need to print them or export them. So if you go to the File tab and you go down here where it says Export and then it says PDF, click that button and it'll bring up this dialog. We're going to spend a couple minutes explaining what each element does. So the first thing is you need to tell it what you're trying to export. So right now, by default, it's set on the current window. So if we exported now, it would only export this one sheet that we see on the window, or that we see inside the window. If we do the visible portion of the current window, that's if I just wanted to zoom in on something and just really quickly export it to a PDF, we could use this button. But if you're exporting sheets into a set, what you really need to do is select this button right here. It says select views / sheets. So basically it'll let you select any view or any sheet that you want to export. So click that and then you hit the little pencil button and it'll bring up a new dialog. And in here is listed all of the sheets and all of the views in your project. And now you need to select which ones you're going to export. So right now, we don't want to show everything. I don't want to show the 2D views and I don't want to see the 3D views. I just want to see the sheets. So if I click that and only select sheets, now it's only showing us the 3 sheets that we have in our model. Perfect. So now I want to print all 3 of these, right? So I'm going to select all 3. The other thing you want to pay attention to is the order. You want to make sure when you print them to a PDF that they're in numerical order. So 100, 101, 102. If they're not, you can change it by hitting this button, Edit Print Order. And you're able to move them around. So now do you see it's 100, 102, and then 101? Let's edit the print order again and put it in the correct order. Click OK. So now it's 100, 101, 102. I also will dock you points if your sheets are not in the right order. So just make sure they're right. They're organized correctly here first. When you're done with all of that, you can hit the select button and it'll ask you, do you want to save the selection? So if you, in the future, if you want to print these same sheets again, do you want to save all these settings? You can hit yes or no. I just hit no because I will probably just do it next time again. All right, so then the next setting is the export setup. And you can skip this line. This is if you've saved setup. If you set this up before and you saved your settings, it'll show up right here, but we haven't done that yet. So there's nothing there. So the first thing we got to do is name the file, the PDF file that it's going to export. What are you going to call that? So we'll call this exercise 2 set. Okay. And then this button's very important. It says combine selected views and sheets into a single PDF. So we selected 3 sheets to export. If this button is checked, it will put all 3 pages in one PDF. If you uncheck this button, it will export 3 PDFs. Each sheet will be its own PDF. I don't want that. I will also dock you points if you upload 3 PDFs. I want all 3 sheets, but in one PDF. So you need to make sure this button is checked. Now you need to pick where it's going to save the file. So I'm just going to pick my desktop. All right, now we pick the size of the sheet. So what size piece of paper are you going to print the PDF on? So if you remember, we chose E1, which is a 30 by 42. So if you go down here, there's an ARC E1, 30 by 42. Select that. And then we want to make sure we do not fit to page. We want to, because now it's saying, should we scale the drawing down to fit the sheet? And you should never do that if you're printing an architectural set. You want to zoom full, 100%. Exactly how we've drawn it, we want it that same size on the sheet. So you're going to make sure it's zoom 100%. And then it wants to know how it's going to place the title block on the sheet. And I think we're good with just centering it on the piece of paper. The orientation, you can pick portrait or landscape, but if you leave it on automatic, Revit will try to figure it out for you, and it usually does a good job. And then I usually print at grayscale, but you can print in color if you want, no problem. And I usually turn the quality down to medium so it doesn't take too long. If your computer really struggles printing or exporting, you can turn the settings down. Probably high is fine for now because this is just a very small project. Don't worry about the output. Just leave it at vector for now. That's fine. And then down here, there's some more options. Probably you don't need to mess with any of these. If you're curious about what these do, then you can look it up. But if you don't change it from the default settings, you're probably okay. All right, so now that we've gone through that whole dialog box, now it's time to hit export. And then it's going to ask, do you want to save your export settings? I'm going to say yes. And then we'll call this E1 30 by 42 sheet in grayscale and click OK. So what that does is next time I go to print, you won't have to set all those settings. You can just pick what you just saved and it'll remember. Okay, so that did it really quickly. I'm going to minimize this real quick. And you can see on my desktop, it created this PDF file called exercise 2 PDF. Okay, so let's look at what it did. Do you see how nicely the title block fits on the sheet, on the page? It's very professional. A lot of the times people will send me their drawings and their title block is like this, and the sheet is much bigger because they picked the wrong size title block or they picked the wrong size sheet when they were printing. I will take points off if your sheet doesn't look nice and tidy like this. You need to make sure your title block and your page size match each other. The other thing to notice is nothing's running off the page. Sometimes people's title block, like this whole area, will be moved to the center of the page. And then the rest of their drawing is over here and it's being cut off by the sheet, which means they didn't center it correctly or they didn't crop their views correctly. I will dock points for that as well. So you just need to make sure your sheets look nice and professional like this. There's 3 sheets all in one PDF, which is perfect. This is what you're going to turn in. You will upload your PDF file, and that's what I'm going to start grading from now on. Up till this point, we've been doing screenshots. Now your deliverable will be a PDF, and then you will almost always need to upload your Revit file as well. So there's 2 files you're going to upload, one PDF that has 3 sheets, and one Revit file that's a .rvt file. That's your project file that we've been working in Revit. All right, congratulations. If you made it this far, you have made your views and your sheets and you've made your first export. Send those in for credit and you'll do roughly the same thing for your assignment this week.